Russia plays up China's support as it retreats in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin Center chairman of National People's Congress in Li Jianshu left attend a plenary session at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, Russia. Hong Kong CNN. As Russian forces suffer a string of stunning defeats in Ukraine, Moscow is playing up Beijing's support for its invasion ahead of the key meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Chinese leader Xi Jinping this week. Russian troops are forced to flee the strategic city of Izium, their main bastion in northern eastern Ukraine on Saturday after a swift Ukrainian counteroffensive. It was Moscow's worst defeat since its retreat from Kiev in March, and a sign that the war might be entering a new phase. Over the past week, Ukrainian forces have recaptured more than 3,000 square kilometers of territory, more than Russian forces have captured in all their operations since April. Back in Russia, senior Russian and Chinese officials put on the united front to pave the way for for unexpected meeting between Putin and Xi on the sidelines of the regional summit in Uzbekistan, their first face-to-face meeting since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And according to the Russian parliament, a senior Chinese leader has voiced explicit support for Russia's war on Ukraine, claims that are not included in a statement from the Chinese side and run contrary to Beijing's previous effort to maintain a veneer of neutrality. On Thursday and Friday, China's top registrator Li Jianshu, a close ally of Xi and the third ranking leader of the Chinese Communist Party, met with Vyacheslav Volodin, a chairman of Russia's State Duma, and other Russian lawmakers in Moscow after attending an economic forum in the eastern city of Vladivostok. According to a statement from State Duma, Li assured each member that China understands and supports Russia on issues that represent its vital interest, in particular on the situation in Ukraine. We see that the United States and its NATO allies are expanding their presence near the Russian borders, seriously threatening national security and the lives of Russian citizens. We fully understand the necessity of all the measures taken by Russia aimed at protecting its key interest. We are providing our assistance, Li is saying. On the Ukrainian issue, we see how they have put Russia in an impossible situation. And in this case, Russia made an important choice and responded firmly, he added. Beijing has firmly refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine or even refer to it as a war. Instead, it has repeatedly laid the blame for the conflict on NATO and the United States, China refusing to condemn Russia's actions in Ukraine. But previously, Chinese officials have not publicly endorsed the necessity of Russia's invasion or admitted that Beijing was providing assistance. That unequivocal supportive language is missing from the Chinese readout of the meetings. In fact, in the Chinese version, Li is not quoted as making any reference to Ukraine at all. According to the official Xinhua news agency, Li expressed China's willingness to continue to work with Russia to firmly support such each other on issues concerning each other's core interest and major concern. Lee also criticized the sanctions against Russia, calling for a greater cooperation with Moscow on fighting against external interference, sanctions, and long arm jurisdiction, according to Xinhua. While it is not uncommon for China to omit the content of high level meetings in each official readout, the significant discrepancy between Beijing and Moscow's statement has caught the attention of experts. The Russian version went much further than any Chinese version. If they didn't clear this with Beijing, that might really anger some in Beijing, wrote Brian Hurt, a fellow with the China Power Project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Bad news for China. Moscow and Beijing have emerged as closer partners in recent years as both face tensions with the West, with Xi and Putin declaring the two countries had a no limit partnership weeks before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But Russia's recent setback in Ukraine could create a serious dilemma for China. Just weeks before Xi is widely expected to secure a non breaking third term in power at a key Communist Party meeting, Beijing cannot calmly sit by and see Russia defeated in Ukraine because that it will lead at a minimum to a severely weakened Russia that is a less useful ally and less available less able to distract Washington and at a maximum could create political instability in Moscow. Herb Brand, a professor of global affairs at Johns Hopkins University, wrote on Twitter. At an extreme, Brand added political instability in Moscow could create instability within the strategic partnership in which she has invested so much. We can't bet that as Russia's position deteriorates, Putin will look for increased Chinese support. If Beijing doesn't find a way of providing some such support, we could see greater strains in the Sino-Russian partnership sooner than many analysts imagine, he wrote. It's open to question to what extent China is willing to support Russia at the cost of its own strategic interest and object. So far, Beijing has not provided the direct military or financial aid to Moscow that could spark sanctions from Washington. Some experts see the growing relationship between China and Russia as a mainly pragmatic one based on the cost benefits calculations that can easily shift. The China Russia relationship is not based on shared values or the sense of respect affection. It is mostly based on the interest, and the interest can shift quickly as dramatics change, wrote to Hart, the CSIS expert. This, this does not mean the China Russia relationship is weak, only that it's not necessarily durable, he added.